Hi, I'm Roberta LaRocca, a realtor and broker salesperson with Simply Vegas Real Estate. In this video, I'll be covering something that I included in a Lake Las Vegas video from last year. But I'm asked about this so often, I believe it's worth a standalone video. Is Las Vegas running out of water? Will it just dry up and blow away? Is water really being rationed? Aren't those big casinos wasting water? Is the growth of Las Vegas the cause of the water levels dropping at Lake Mead? Questions like these are typically caused by a variety of sources. YouTube videos, online articles or comments, even Uber, taxi, or limo drivers. Or from someone else who says they live here, so they know. But typically offer nothing more than some pretty obvious assumptions, or are just repeating something they've heard or read. It even happens in the media. And just one of many similar examples, this story appeared in Slate. Originally titled, Las Vegas Water Conservation, It's a Mirage, as it is still indexed by Google. In it, the author passed through Las Vegas in an afternoon on his way to California. After a quick stop at Hoover Dam, only staying a few minutes and seeing the low water level, then continuing out of town, and next seeing new gargantuan homes offered for sale on signs found along Blue Diamond Road. The entire article appears based on his assuming that Las Vegas was draining the lake from all the growth that he believes shouldn't be there. Using terms like the historically dry Las Vegas wash being created as a lush oasis, implying that it was more water wasted, depriving the more populous Arizona and California of water. That just isn't true, and you'll see why as we go on. So it appears this is nothing more than another type of media spin, fact-pinion, or justifying one supposed facts based on another opinion that supports their own. So while I don't claim any expertise, I'm not a hydrologist, just as I would do when asked these questions, let me pass along some information from agencies that regulate and others that actually have the expertise, so that you can make your own decisions of what is correct or not. And now it's time to move on to the big picture. Let's start with that historically dry Las Vegas wash and the lush oasis depriving more populous California and Arizona of water. Or was Las Vegas itself actually a lush oasis in the desert? Going back to 1829 and 30, the route of the first trip of the Old Spanish Trail to California is the bottom line in yellow on this National Park Service map. In late December, scouts were sent out to find water, and after a few days, all had returned except for one, named Rafael Rivera. He finally returned after 2 weeks, and it's no wonder he was gone so long. He said he found Vegas. But no bright lights, casinos, and buffets. He was using the Spanish word for fertile plains or meadows. Historians believe he followed a wash through a mountain gap and entered the southeastern valley and continued along Duck Creek, that today is used as a flood control channel. An area near the creek that is now Sunset Park had often been used by the Paiutes for centuries before because of its free-flowing water. Although it no longer flows to the surface, the park's lake is supplied by this underground source. Next, in 1844, famed explorer John C. Fremont, on his second journey through the West, as seen on this Library of Congress map, also traveled to what Raphael had called Vegas. You may have heard of a downtown street and an experience that was named for him. And his journals gave his description of the water he found. 2 narrow streams of clear water, 4 or 5 feet deep, gush suddenly with a quick current from 2 singularly large springs. These and other waters of the basin pass out in a gap to the eastward. and his map shows water flows that would include the Wash and where it passes through a gap in the East Valley, and today passes under Lake Las Vegas on its way to Lake Mead. In 1855, the valley's first settlers went to the northern stream, the Las Vegas Creek, building the old Mormon fort there because of its water supply. But they abandoned the fort about 2 years later after Native American raids during the Utah Wars. In 1865, a ranch was built on that site, first called Las Vegas Rancho, but by 1881 became the first foreclosure of Las Vegas when unable to pay back a loan. The note holder took over, and the 1,800 acres became Stewart Ranch, that also controlled that area's water rights. In 1905, the San Pedro, Los Angeles, and Salt Lake Railroad needed a water stop along their route, and the oasis of Vegas had the water supply it needed, right in the middle of the desert. They purchased the Stewart Ranch and its water rights to the springs and Vegas Creek that ran right past what would be their rail yard and station, which is where the Plaza Hotel is located today. And also in 1905, the railroad held a land auction for settlers, and the city of Las Vegas was born. Today, those springs, located just a few miles to the west of downtown, are part of the Springs Preserve, where the area has been restored. It became the water supply for this new city, and as it grew, provided more water as it was needed for new residents. Water from this spring continued to flow up above ground until 1962. Much has been done at the preserve for education of our local environment and history. Plus archaeological studies that have found artifacts and structures there that could date back more than 12,000 years. There is also a waterworks, a 1905 boomtown representing what the birth of Las Vegas was like, and much more. Unfortunately, YouTube's new policies no longer allow in-video card links unless I allow ads. So I'll include links to these and other websites in this video's description. Also around 1905 and after, other ranches popped up, including the Bishop Ranch. This horse and cattle ranch was located to the far southeast valley and grew to 800 acres near the Wash. They also planted crops using dry ranching, meaning they didn't need to irrigate, as the wetlands surrounding the Wash remained damp enough for growing. Excavations along the Wash turned up everything from early civilizations dating to thousands of years ago, to a wash restoration project in 2007 that uncovered a root cellar from the Bishop Ranch in the area near Wells Trailhead. The cellar was relocated to the Clark County Museum, where in this video, curator and Pawn Stars expert Mark Hall-Patton explains it, how it was moved, and what artifacts were recovered. I'll also include a link in the description to this and another video from Mark about early Las Vegas that was on C-SPAN. So you may want to ask yourself, was the Wash historically dry? Or Las Vegas for that matter? But now we'll get further into Las Vegas, taking away Lake Mead water from those more populous states. Again, you have to go back in time to the Bureau of Reclamation and the Law of the River. In 1922, 7.5 million acre-feet of Colorado River water was allocated for the lower basin and was divided, but not exactly in equal shares. Then in 1944, a treaty granted Mexico an additional 1.5 million acre-feet of water. So let me give you a visual of all this. Las Vegas, that gets Nevada's share of the water, is 300,000 acre-feet. Arizona, 2.8 million acre-feet. California, 4.4 million acre-feet. And Mexico, 1.5 million acre-feet, for a total of 9 million acre-feet of water. Now, take away the 300,000 acre-feet of water for Las Vegas, and that means 8.7 million acre-feet of water is released from Lake Mead. Las Vegas's share is literally a drop in the bucket compared to that, about 3.3%. So, could Las Vegas really be depriving the more populous states of water? Well, just making that comment alone would mean that a person didn't have any knowledge of, or simply ignored, another part of the law of the river: consumptive use and return flow credits. Whatever amount of water that is put back into the river is a credit and doesn't count against your consumptive allocation. And since so many negative articles like to play off of Sin City in an attempt to portray it as always playing some sneaky trick, well, Las Vegas doesn't have an exclusive on this. It works the same way for California and Arizona. Las Vegas just has an ideal location and years of preparation and investment on its side. And there's also more to that story as we go along. So now you have to ask yourself, is Las Vegas actually the cause of falling water levels at Lake Mead? The writer of that Slate article also claims that it is. The valley's conservation efforts are wasteful, a mirage, and uses this source to back up his claim. Here, saying that because water efficiency is only in homes built post-2003, that Las Vegas needs to keep building to reduce per capita water use to 199 gallons a day by 2035. This source also mentions that his figures are from a 2010 survey. This first seems to be an assumption that older homes never update fixtures, use turf reduction, or convert to more efficient landscaping or irrigation. Then, oddly enough, the U.S. Geological Survey, or the USGS, that actually tracks water use, doesn't use the same methods. The USGS, along with the Bureau of Reclamation, once again uses that darn consumptive use, and their figures are a bit different. In the 2010 USGS report on water use per capita by county, Clark County, where Las Vegas is located, has a per capita consumptive water use of 126 gallons a day. And of course, those per capita figures don't include the 35 to 40 million visitors a year, just in recent decades. The Bureau of Reclamation also has records of water withdrawals from Lake Mead since 1964. And yes, I'll include this link as well. If you look at the water used by Nevada in 1999, the year the drought began, it was 291,100 acre-feet. You might also notice that California withdrew above their 4.4 million allocation by over 2.5 times Nevada's 300,000. But by 2015, Nevada withdrew 222,729 acre-feet, while California had once again overdrawn their allocation by nearly that same amount. So Las Vegas goes from using 291,100 to just shy of 223,000 acre-feet, a difference of 68,000 acre-feet of water, while the population grew by nearly 800,000, a roughly 60% increase. And their conservation is wasteful? A mirage? Yes, but even in 2014, the Los Angeles Times had a headline reading, "Drought and Neighbors Press Las Vegas to Conserve Water." And what did they use for a source? One from Utah with dramatic quotes of, "You have to live within your means." What were they thinking? They fail to notice that this person is from the second driest state and comes in second in another category, water consumptive use per person, at 167 gallons per day, only 1 gallon behind first place Idaho. And I guess this Times writer simply missed that in just the years before this was written, California was once again taking more water than their allocation allowed. But what makes this even more embarrassing is what happened just after this article was written. Los Angeles had to borrow, well, actually purchase, water from Las Vegas's banked or stored surplus. Los Angeles paid $45 million for 150,000 acre-feet, half a year's allocation for Las Vegas that it had to spare. As of 2017, the SNWA announced that surplus water banked in Lake Mead and in wells in Nevada, Arizona, and California had equaled an 8-year supply and was likely the largest in the region. Yet there are so many articles like these that I've mentioned that just get more traction, accusing Las Vegas of not conserving water, or as the cause of dropping Lake Mead levels, and claims that the city itself is on the verge of running dry, or that somehow it's Las Vegas's drought. And for those saying Las Vegas is running out of water, they need to stop the growth, well, they sort of missed it. Without a doubt, Las Vegas didn't always conserve their water, with the late 80s pushing annual water use increase up from 5% to 22%. All through this time, the various water authorities of the valley were operating under that incredibly wasteful use it or lose it water system of the Old West, a system that sadly continues in many water issues facing western states today. It's called the doctrine of prior appropriation. Its creed is first in time, first in right, and spells out senior and junior water rights. Here, each agency would want to use their full share, one way or another, so that they didn't lose any of what they had to another authority. But by those late 80s, they also started to wonder how much longer the water supply would last, and finally agreed to a study. That was performed by Water Resources Management Incorporated in conjunction with the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and it confirmed what they already knew. It determined Las Vegas would run out of water by 1991 or 92, but could possibly extend that to 2007 if they used some conservation measures. There's one little catch though. For these agencies to negotiate their water and to be able to conserve all across the area, they had to give up their individual control and speak with one voice for the benefit of all. That's when the Southern Nevada Water Authority was created, and its earliest move was a stunner. On Valentine's Day 1991, all new construction, other than what had already been approved, was brought to a halt. To Las Vegas developers, it became known as the Valentine's Day Massacre. And yes, it included the biggest economic driver of the time, the casino and hospitality industry. So Las Vegas was up against the wall, running out of water, and had stopped growth decades ago. Organization and conservation plans began back then, with a variety of water waste reduction measures that include education, community patrols, and site reviews, irrigation water clock adjustments, and more. And by 1998, they had achieved 15% water reductions. But was that enough? Not really. Population continued to grow even more. And then, Mother Nature threw them another curveball of an extended drought beginning in 1999. The unknowns of this drought had them kick it into high gear. Beginning in the early 2000s, a variety of additional conservation plans began. And no, it doesn't mean water is rationed, as some online sites have claimed. So at the end of the month, and you're in the shower with shampoo in your hair, you don't have to worry that your ration will suddenly run out. Conservation meant outdoor watering schedules, restrictions on lawns for new construction, size limits placed on outdoor water features, and if a pool needed drained, the water had to go into the home sanitary sewer. Home car washing can be done once a week, but the hose must have a shutoff nozzle. Turf removal rebates are available for conversion to water-smart landscapes that have, to date, replaced over 185 million square feet of lawns. A conversion of every 15,000 square feet of lawn has a projected savings of 825,000 gallons of water per year. A variety of incentives are offered for businesses, homeowner associations, and multifamily dwellings to convert to water-saving technologies and fixtures. Other rebates for homeowners include smart outdoor irrigation water clocks and also pool covers, from replaceable to permanent mechanical covers. Or there are discount coupons available for water-smart car washes that recycle their water on site to be returned for water reuse through area wastewater plants. Las Vegas has also invested heavily in its infrastructure. Thousands of miles of piping for treated residential, along with recycled irrigation and wastewater, were added. The latest technology in treatment for drinking water at 2 plants capable of processing up to 900 million gallons a day. And treatment plants for both residential use and wastewater were already becoming even more state-of-the-art years ago. This, while even today, the EPA has identified areas of the country where raw and inadequately treated sewage still enters the waterways. Wastewater is treated with the latest technologies and goes through a complex process. This for making the valley able to reuse water for irrigation of parks, golf courses, and common areas, and further treatment for returning near drinking water quality back into the environment. And a big part of the system includes that lush Las Vegas wash. It isn't just for looks, and unfortunately, Las Vegas's growth through the 70s and 80s had destroyed it. Years of increased urban runoff, wastewater, and combined with stormwater had eroded the channel and removed much of the plant life that was so important to its natural purpose. In the late 90s, reconstruction had begun, including adding weirs and settling ponds to slow the flow, and replanting of vegetation. Through 2017, over $155 million has been spent on this project, and work continues as nearly $29 million more is projected to be spent through 2022. If you're wondering why this is so important, it's because the wash acts as a giant biological filter, with the slowing of the water in ponds allowing dissolved solids to settle, while the vegetation absorbs a variety of impurities. The water in the wash undergoes individual testing with water samples drawn along with automatic sensors to measure its quality. But testing goes beyond SNWA, with multiple local, state, and federal agencies involved. And for more about the wash, check out the complete SNWA video, also linked in this video's description. So how does that consumptive use and return flow credits actually work? For every gallon of clean water Las Vegas returns to the lake through the wash, it allows another gallon to be drawn for Las Vegas. It isn't put back into the lake for other, more populous states. In Las Vegas, nearly every drop of water going down a drain is either processed for return flow credits or used a second time for irrigation. And irrigation, or all outdoor use, is consumptive use. And what about those casino resorts with huge water features and landscaping? Well, those are using water typically drawn from brackish well water and filtered for use by the casino. As with the Bellagio fountains, they use a fraction of the tremendous amount of water drawn from their well, compared to the former golf course there. And even the Cirque O theater pools are drained to it for reuse. Wynn Encore is also in the same boat, drawing from a well that isn't used for drinking water, and they had also achieved Gold LEED certification that includes water savings. Its proposed Paradise Park Lagoon will replace the golf course with projections it will use 30 times less water than a similar course and half the water of a similar sized water park, while using solar to power its advanced filtration system. Across the street, in 2008, the largest LEED certified building in the world was Palazzo Las Vegas, and is next to its LEED certified Venetian and Sands Expo Convention Center. MGM City Center received 6 Gold LEED certifications for that project, and MGM, the largest operator in Las Vegas, has its own sustainability department for its properties. Then you have Caesars Entertainment, that since 2008 has reduced their water use by 26% per square foot as part of their sustainability programs. Even off-strip, there are Station Casinos, who has achieved gold or silver certifications for their properties. And yes, there are even more properties that can serve. Going beyond the Strip's conservation, the SNWA has made investments in water savings outside the valley. In California's Imperial Valley, water called to be released from Lake Mead, but when unused, would flow into Mexico and not count against their allocation. By investing in the Warren Brock Reservoir to capture this water, to be used in the Imperial Valley, SNWA is entitled to 40,000 acre-feet a year through 2036, up to a total of 400,000 acre-feet. In 2017, Las Vegas also invested in Mexico to line canals along with other water-saving measures. This would allow them to grow more crops with less water. In return, SNWA's initial investment gives them over 27,000 acre-feet with an option for doubling that amount. The USDA shows that nationwide, agriculture operations use 80% of all water supplies, with as much as 90% in the western states. Efficiencies that could reduce those numbers by 10 to 20% could roughly double supplies for urban uses, while reducing water acquisition costs for agriculture. Now, at the time of the Mexican investment last August, Mexico and Nevada were on board for the proposed new water shortage agreements to help maintain levels of Lake Mead. Arizona and California had agreed in principle to these cutbacks for all involved, and hopes were for signing the agreement this year. But that old water law of the West, once again, appears to be rearing its ugly head. Lawsuits in California, along with infighting with Arizona, has delayed any agreement for the near future. Fortunately for Las Vegas, they're already ahead of the curve. What many don't realize is the unique construction of Hoover Dam with its 4 water intake towers. The base of the towers aren't at the bottom of the lake. Once levels reach a point where no more water can be released from the dam, through those towers, there is still water in the lake. At that 895-foot level of the lower gates, over 2.5 million acre-feet will remain. SNWA began a major construction project in 2008 called the Third Straw, or water intake, to allow Las Vegas to acquire its water allocation below 1,000-foot lake elevations. With the additional low-level pump stations being built and scheduled for completion by 2020, it would give access to the valley's water supply down below the levels of the lower gates. So yes, Las Vegas would have access to its water supply, even if there was not enough water left to pass through the dam. This is all part of SNWA's 50-year water plan. For much more detail, watch the complete SNWA video, again linked in this video's description, along with the water plan. I believe it's obvious that the loss of water flowing below the dam would be absolutely devastating to all downstream users, not to mention the complete loss of power generated by Hoover Dam, even before reaching that lowest level. Hopefully, those fighting will come to their senses and do what's right for their region, just as the water districts in southern Nevada had to do to survive decades ago. So once again, I don't claim to be an expert, but there is an awful lot of information available that at the very least can help you decide what is true or not. Now I believe you can understand that there's a little more to the story of the water supply in Las Vegas. While there's absolutely no doubt that the water situation in the West deserves attention, it seems that Las Vegas has had to be proactive, even before the extended drought of the Rockies. Something needed to be done. They couldn't just kick the can down the road. And when it comes to water and growth, it actually goes well beyond Las Vegas. Our national population continues to swell, as you can see from the U.S. Census population clock. We currently have a net gain of 1 person every 14 seconds. And if you look closely, a roughly 18 million gain just from 2010. Just using the lower USGS average of 80 gallons per person per day, that's 1,440,000,000 gallons more water needed per day. 525,600,000,000 gallons per year, and just within 8 years. And that number will continue to grow. So water supplies on a nationwide scale also deserve proper attention, as we never know where or when the next Dust Bowl, drought, or water storage shortage may occur. What happened in Vegas with the water supply might just be a secret that shouldn't stay there. And now, with this information, I believe you can decide for yourself what is fact and what could be considered questionable assumptions or opinions. And in some cases, just made up clickbait. So thanks for watching, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel for a better look into living in Las Vegas. And as always, if you just have questions or I can help you now, please don't hesitate to get in touch.